From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! He's Corey. I'm Aslan. You already know that. It's going to be a good show today. I got a good feeling about it, Corey. We're at the Southwood offices today, per usual. I think this is kind of like our little Wednesday routine, the White Boy Wednesday.
Right.
Then the music selection will be curated by you. I'll have you give me the suggestions. In post-production. I'll go ahead and lay them down.
Weezer? Maybe throw in a little Weezer?
Okay, we can do a little Weezer.
Maybe Weezer's cover of Africa by Toto.
No.
It's a big hit.
I don't know why that's like a funny thing now. Like everyone loves Africa. I mean, we should all love Africa, but the song Africa, I've just never gotten behind it.
You're
I
crazy.
Think the song is just so cheesy. There's nothing to it.
It's nuts. You're crazy.
Horrible.
It's a great song. Maybe the best song of that decade.
Horrible. Toto, Africa.
Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. It's something that 100 men or more could never do. Yeah, man.
Okay.
See, I can hit it too.
Still not about it.
I feel like when you hear me singing, it should have changed your thoughts.
All right, maybe. All right, so practice yesterday, Walt Bell offense. Man, they just keep throwing guys at us.
They do, man.
It's pretty cool.
They do. Good for them.
Speak to a lot of guys. Who did you speak to? Who caught your ear? What did they have to say? What was your takeaways? What was your takeaway, Corey?
I believe I only talked to Walt Bell actually, and then started writing while you and Ira got the players.
We went and hunted. You sat back and prepared the table.
I would think I'm more of a gatherer. You're the hunter, and I'm the gatherer.
Rawr.
I thought Walt Bell was again he talked about they have to try to establish a running game. He did admit that was part of what they were doing in the second half, was just trying to do it, find it, establish it. I thought what was interesting, and I didn't quite get the question that I wanted to ask, but I asked him about.
By the way, our guy Corey Clark, everybody, just so you know, there was a scrum of about 8 of us, and it's just you ask a question, I'll ask a question, this guy asks a question, that guy will ask a question, this lady will ask a question, boom, boom, boom. And it's usually kind of decorum, sort of implicitly, that you can get – it's one question at a time. You can ask a follow-up, and then you're kind of good from there. Our guy Tim Linnefelt from Seminoles.com just kept trying to, box out Corey, and Corey would just swim moving over him and just pulling down the board.
Dunking over his head.
Rebounds.
Hey, I had to hang on the rim so I wouldn't fall on him.
At one point, Corey's like, I'm sorry. I don't know who I was interrupting. And Tim's like, it was me, Corey. And he's like, oh, you can wait your turn. Yeah. Anyhow, Coach Bell. It was amazing, just showing the alphaness of this.
In fairness to me, I didn't hear that Tim tried to ask a question, and I asked a question that had a natural follow up that I wanted to ask.
Right.
And I asked it immediately after Walt Bell's lips stopped moving. So that's on Tim to at least give me a half a second to have a follow up if I had it, especially when he's just going to ask about the 2 drives again. Yeah, great. First 2 drives. It really gave them a lot of confidence as they sucked for the next 9. Anyway, that's
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah,
because I asked the same question to start things off too.
But my question was, that's why I was saying it had already been asked. Yeah. But my question was essentially, DeAndre Francois, does he have an option on every play? And I know the answer. Essentially, yeah, he has an option. It's either going to be a run or a pass or whatever. It's on him.
An RPO,
as you'd like to call it. He has the option of a run or a pass. It should be ORP, right? The option of a run or pass, not run pass option.
ORPs.
Yeah, you call it an ORP. But so I asked them, about that because I wanted to get to the heart of the matter, which was, is he doing it well? Mm-hmm. And but by that time I had the exchange with Tim, and everybody was laughing, and Walt Bell gave me like a 9-word answer because he knew Tim had a question he wanted to ask.
Right.
But essentially, he did say that there are some plays, and these were his words, where DeAndre can turn his brain off. Mm-hmm. And maybe there should be a few more. Not that DeAndre is a dumb kid by any stretch of the imagination, but again, he's not. Sometimes he doesn't see it real well. And because Ira had brought up the play out wide on a 3rd and 2 where he gets tackled for 7-yard loss, and I wanted to go back to that and be like, was that DeAndre just making a bad decision? Because I can't fathom that you guys would want to call that play in that spot. When does he get it? when is he starting to get it more? And Walt Bell also, I think Walt Bell used the point guard. I think didn't he say about being a point guard?
I heard the point guard.
And that's what this position is, man. You've got to be a point guard. I don't think DeAndre Francois right now is a point guard. I think we all know that. I was trying to get some confirmation from Walt Bell, and he essentially said, yeah, he's getting better. But we all see it. We all know it's not running great, and we don't have to harp on the offense again. But I just thought it's always interesting to talk to him for the 8 or 10 minutes that we get to talk to him each week.
I do. I mean, I don't know how to. Let me see how to. I find it more insightful to talk to Walt about technical stuff than Willie. I don't know if it's Willie just doesn't like communicating because he's the head coach and doesn't want to go too deep into football stuff. But Walt it seems more willing to kind of peel the curtain back a little bit and kind of let us know what's going on. So I do look forward to it. And I remember at first, and because everyone's like, "Oh man, we're going to be so lucky." Everybody just sit back and enjoy the 2-3 years that we got with Walt Bell, and then he's going to leave us. I'm like, everybody, calm down. I mean, it's not, it's not like he's Bill Walsh like reincarnated from Tennessee or whatever.
Well, you wouldn't
he's
know.
grown on me.
Yeah.
What do you mean I wouldn't know? I grew up watching Joe Montana throwing the ball.
No, I'm saying you wouldn't know if he was or wasn't. He hadn't done enough in his career to just
he's not calling the plays. Yeah.
Just say that he's not that person. He might be an absolute genius, but his hands are tied right now. He can't get his hands on the offense. Yeah. But of course they want to run the ball. And he also brought up again what Willie Taggart brought up about the running backs and they're pressing too much. And people hear that and they think, oh, they're trying too hard. They're trying too hard to make a big play, and it's that cliche. No, it's more about they're not letting things develop, and we all understand it because sometimes there aren't any things to develop. But not every play has to be a 40-yard run. Sometimes you can get a 9-yard run, and I think there are plays where both those guys, but specifically Cam, is bouncing it outside too quick, isn't looking in the proper hole, isn't hitting the proper hole, and
is that pressing though?
I think it's him wanting so bad to beat this one guy to the outside, and then he thinks he's out the gate. Yeah. That he's not taking the 8-yard run. In this offense is a lot of 8-yard run. When it's going well, it's a lot of 7- and 8-yard runs, so you're 2nd and 2, and you're going quick. And they can't do that. And I think, again, goes back to the quarterback, not reading it a lot, not reading it great, but it also comes back to your running backs, especially Cam, who's too good to run as tentatively as he has at times this season.
I would hope if you're a running back, you'd take 8 yards every day. I mean, I don't know why you would try to force the issue and try to make something even bigger than that. But I guess when you're down and you need points,
Also, Cam Akers isn't used to getting tackled for 2-yard gains. Yeah. When has that ever happened in his life? Really,
right.
He's not used to it, and he's not really used to 5-yard gains. I mean, I know he averaged like 5 last year, but he'd have some bad carries, and then he'd hit a 40-yarder or a 45-yarder or a 60-yarder. When that's not happening, he's had one good run. He's had one big run in 4 games. Has Cam Akers ever had a stretch in his life where he had one big run in 4 games? Yeah. He'd have 3 big runs a game in high school. 5 maybe.
Yeah,
so he's got it's about adapting too. Like sometimes you're going to have 22 carries for 96 yards. You're going to have to just power through it. It's not going to be 22 for 180. But I think he's costing himself some yards by trying to hit the big home run play because he's so used to, he hasn't had one yet. But not many. I mean, it's not like he's missed a lot of huge holes. Yeah. But you watch some of these runs, and it does look like there's a cutback here, or if he stays at the hole instead of trying to bounce it outside, he's got a few more yards. But by and large, it's it's the offensive line is a train wreck, and it's hard to run behind him.
He did the same thing last year, though. He did a lot of try to get to the outside instead of taking 2 or 3 yards and then make it into like a -3. And I thought he actually mentioned that either with us at kickoff or on the dice at kickoff in Charlotte, where he was talking about I got to stop, trying to force issue and go outside and just kind of trust my blocks. But again, it maybe comes back to the O-line, not
everything really kind of comes back to the O-line, right? Even his mindset, if it's a mindset of being a little more hesitant to try to hit it up in there. That all comes back to what he's seen from this offensive line. It's human nature. And everything I say, just know that everything I say is with the understood notion that the offensive line is really bad. So I'm just talking, it's yes and. Everything I say is yes and. Yes, the offensive line is bad, and the running backs aren't playing great right now.
Yeah.
Yes, the offensive line is bad, and the quarterback isn't seeing things that great right now.
Yeah, I saw somebody on the tribal council I thought put it pretty well last week about everyone here. He was like, everyone's trying to argue about this and that, or he's like this, and this. He's like, it's not that. He's like, it's and. This is a problem, and this is a problem, and this is a problem. It's not just one singular thing right now.
And it's on both sides of the ball. But you know what? They're 2-2.
They are.
And they might be playing a team that's in worse shape than them.
Really, that's kind of crazy. Think about it. Let's talk about that. Let's pause. But when we come back, I should have mentioned this at the top of the show. Tomorrow, Thursday, your Florida State basketball team, ladies and gentlemen, returns to practice, right? First day of practice on Thursday, Corey?
First day of practice for the 018-019 campaign.
018-019, is that how we do it? Just 18-19.
I call it 018 and 019, yeah.
See,
it's like bingo.
I'm still trying to stick to my guns and say 2018 because my whole thing was just like, what was the year Florida State won their first national title, Corey?
1993.
Clever.
Nailed it.
You're good. Corey sat down with Leonard Hamilton, head basketball coach for the men's basketball program at Florida State. We'll play that.
We'll do that in the third segment.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, but just know that's coming up today. It's going to be a good show. We'll make it better after this. Wake up, War Chant.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Oh, something else to talk about from practice. We keep bearing the lead. Landon Dickerson was back out there.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't participate in the Knoll drill, but if you go on YouTube and watch the raw video from practice on Tuesday, I don't know if he actually kept practicing after that because we pretty much left, or I turned my attention to receivers and quarterbacks, and then we probably left 5 minutes after that. But you'll actually see the one rep that he ran in practice, and I was focused on him the whole time. And as soon as he was done with it, you just see him like nodding his head, like shaking his head, like nah. And then he walked, like I'm not in pain, but it didn't look very encouraging. Yeah. And then he walked over to Jake File, the head trainer, and then Willie was over there as well, and they were talking and had a little powwow. So, but he was out at practice.
It's only Tuesday though.
Yeah. I mean, heck, remember we were dissecting Stanford Samuel's body language before Virginia Tech game, and he ends up playing. So, that who knows? I wonder if they're going to stick with Juwan. Juwan had a good rep during Knoll drill. I mean,
that's all it takes, baby. One rep, one day.
You're being facetious, which is fine, which is deservedly so. I mean, the guy's had 4 really, really bad football games.
He's had a few bad reps in the middle of the games.
So what's one thing going to do? But I wonder if it is one of those things where like one thing can just turn it around for a guy. Like one good day. I mean, that's going to instantly go from 0 to like 100. But like, can you go from 11 to 78? Like, can you go from an F- to like maybe a C+?
Didn't he go from a 0 to a 39 in one week? So
did.
This week he should be up. I mean, going by that, he should be up to 78.
Strive,
which would be good. Yeah, man. He's so much of it is confidence, and that goes for everybody. Well, everybody in every walk of life, but certainly a struggling left tackle on a college football team. If you don't have confidence, if you're so stressed out that you're going to give up a sack, you're usually going to give up a sack. Like you race too far to the left to keep him that way, and then he's just going to cut inside. You're overextending. You don't have good technique, and so But if you have confidence in what you're doing, man, that's half the battle. But again, you can't fake confidence. I thought that was something else interesting that Walt Bell talked about when he was asked about those 2 drives, and he's like, I'm not about the false enthusiasm and false confidence.
Puffing my chest.
You get confidence from doing something really well over and over again.
Pride. You should take pride. It should be a confidence thing. It should be a pride thing.
Yeah, and you should. And that's how it works. And that's true, man. You can't fake confidence. You can't act like you're good at something when you're not. What good does that do? You're either good or the only way you get true confidence, like a Jameis Winston, is to be awesome repeatedly in pressure situations. And then, of course, he expects to go down against Auburn and win the game because that's what he does. But would Jacob Coker have expected to go down there and win the game? I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. But confidence is such a big deal in everything. And that left tackle, man, that whole offensive line as a unit, those tackles in particular have zero confidence.
I don't know. You think about Brady Scott? I think Brady Scott's,
Yeah, I don't know.
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and probably just.
Well, he's so young. Yeah. Maybe. I think Jawan Williams might be thinking that I finally got my shot. This is my one shot, and this is what's happening to me.
Yeah.
And it's deteriorating into madness.
Well, when they broke out from that drill to go do individual work, I did see it as soon as it was over. Willie did walk up to Jawan and had like a little extended pep talk with him. It looked like so.
There you go.
Maybe he realizes.
Gonna need you.
Yeah, we need you, buddy.
Need you, JJ. Need you, man. No, it's not. There's not an extra J in there. He spells it weirdly.
It's JAUAN.
Yeah. So there's no even
J-Dub. Just call him J-Dub.
J-Dub. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that's how everyone does
J
it.
Will.
But yeah, so that was a good thing. I think hopefully that'll build his
Joanna,
confidence.
Man.
Good
Joanna,
movie.
Man. Yeah,
Good,
great movie.
Fantastic movie. We should talk about
Maybe the
that.
best sports movie ever made. People, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Second behind Eddie.
And Remember the Titans. Ooh, what you wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be a minute until I sit down and go through that one. Otherwise, that was about it from practice, I thought. Terry Wilson made a nice catch. But, again, it's all in a video that you guys can watch on YouTube.
One more thing,
also
though.
on the Tribal Council, we post all that stuff there as
Obviously, everybody's going to ask about Tamorrion Terry all the time. I mean, he's got 8 catches, 3 for touchdowns. I think he was thrown to once on Saturday, and it was a 78-yard touchdown.
Twice.
So
it was great. He had a 78-yard touchdown.
Oh, and then like a minus 7-yard catch.
No, it was 2 catches, 77 yards.
Yeah, because he put his knee down on the one. Which he made a nice play, but hey, man, it's college.
He's just getting ready for Canton, brother.
Yeah, I know he is. And the NFL, man, that thing's out the gate.
Gone.
But Walt Bell, I thought, was good about him, too, and said that,
My question was, does Tamorrion Terry have to do anything besides catch touchdowns for you to throw the ball to him more?
Yeah, but he'd been asked about him just in general and said that tough players make big plays in tough situations. And he goes, if you watch Tamorrion Terry off the ball, and he's like, why would you watch him off the ball? Nobody would do that. But when you watch him off the ball, you see what I'm talking about.
Oh, but we do.
We watch him, running free. But also, he blocked a dude into the bench in that game. Yeah. Late in the game against Samford, he drove a DB on a running play completely out of bounds and landed on him. Mm-hmm. He's got that in him. And quite frankly, people always remember Kelvin Benjamin with the catches and everything, and there were some memorable ones in there. But he took a lot of pride in his blocking. And that was a big deal for Kenny Shaw on those little bubbles, to have a guy out wide that took a lot of pride in it and would shove people into the ground. And I think Tamorrion Terry, again, everything you see about that kid, he's not a prima donna diva that is screaming for the ball. He's not a kid that won't block. He takes pride in it. And just moving forward for this year and for next year until he enters the draft after next year, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to see from him.
Yeah, and then I think
speaks to his mindset.
Walt also said that this offense isn't a throw it to a particular person sort of offense. He's like, now can we scheme things up? Yes, we should. He's like, but that's when he was talking about, the stuff he does away from the ball. But it's like, come on, man. I know you can't go out there and call the play like Tamorrion Terry post on 3-on-3 break.
Sure you can.
But like at this point,
sure you can. If Randy Moss was out wide, would they be like, look, we're throwing it to the open guy. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it could be Jerry Rice out there. We're just throwing it to the guy that's the best read in the route. It's like, no, man, sometimes if you have a incredible playmaker, a guy that's just supernatural, sometimes you got to go let him just go make plays. Scheme something for him.
Yeah, hopefully sooner than later on that. That was practice. We'll be back out there later on Wednesday. It's the defense's turn, Harlan Barnett and those guys. Defense is I don't for some reason I've never gravitated towards defense as much as I do offense, but we need to probably start maybe scrutinizing them as much.
Well, defense wins championships, as I like to say.
Yeah.
Offense wins games.
Puts fans in the stands.
Yeah, but defense wins championships.
Yeah. Championship level defense right now?
No.
Not so much.
Nope. What's encouraging though, I think, is when you see the physicality and the aggressiveness, it's almost all coming from the younger guys. And I do think we talked about it and we'll talk about it a lot. There is a mindset that's permeated this program where it's a soft team. It's a soft football program. I don't know how and why Jimbo let it get that way, but it did. They were soft, I think, mentally and physically. And maybe this is the group that's turning it around. It would appear Litton, whose name should be Lighton, I talked about this on headlines because then you could say he's lighting fools up because he does. He likes to hit those guys. Samuel.
Or that kid just got lit up. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but you can't say, but it's lighting, right?
No, it's
no, it's litten. So he got lit up.
Yeah.
You just got lit up.
Yeah.
Well, okay, all right. Now I'm more on board with it.
Yeah.
You just got lit.
Yeah. There you go.
So I think that guy Samuel. I really do think Amari Gainer's going to be a big deal.
Would be
a big
obviously.
deal. Would be. Marvin's only a sophomore. I think this is the group that can kind of turn this. Obviously, they're not going to be 2013, but what's so amazing about that 2013 team, and you had it in 12 too. Vince Williams and Nick Moody were guys that brought it, and that permeates a team. But after them, I mean, that's a big deal that carries on even after you've graduated. You had, you had LaMarcus, Telvin, Jernigan, all three levels, not just playmakers, but guys that just had a mentality that they were going to crush your soul. That's what they wanted to do, was send you backwards. And maybe next year, if you have a defensive tackle like that, if Gainer's a guy that can just create havoc and just instill a toughness and a mentality, and then you got on the back end with, well, I don't know if you call him on the back end, but with Woodby in these two corners and Nasruddin, all of a sudden I think you got some physicality to you a little bit. Your sophomores and freshmen I think can be guys that kind of maybe change the way this defense plays.
I feel like Woodby, I'll ask Harlan about that. I feel like Woodby actually, there was a couple snaps where he was playing like legitimate safety. Like if he was,
was he?
Like 10, 15 yards off the ball, he wasn't playing linebacker. And then Hamza was playing closer to the offensive line. I don't know if they maybe swapped in certain things, but I'm sure maybe some answers out of good old Harlan. Speak about Jimbo letting these things slide so much. So I'm constantly on YouTube because I'm uploading all the videos and stuff. And YouTube's always recommending me to watch certain videos. So for some reason, he recommended me to watch a video of Willie from Oregon. It was really awkward. It was like the video, I think, once he knew he was going to take the job. And
but wouldn't ask the questions.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I watched it when it happened.
Don't watch it, folks. It's not comfortable at all. But anyhow, and I'm just like, I want to see him in the locker room. I want to see like what he says in the locker room to help remedy this. But then I'm like, let me just go back down memory lane and just watch some old Jimbo videos in the locker room. This is our time. It's our time.
Right.
But no, like the one it was from the Wake Forest game. You talk about just getting soft. The Wake Forest game in 16 when they had the Showtime squad here, whatever the Showtime show, in the locker room at halftime, like DeAndre got like hit so bad before going to half, and they're playing the audio of him talking to like Randy Sanders in the booth. He's like, what are we doing out there? We're gonna get him killed. And then he's just like, they think they're more man than you. And then he starts. All of them are seated in their chairs. He's just like, are you a man? Are you a man? Going to Everly's face, right. Rod Johnson. They're like, yes sir, yes sir. Like, well then prove it. He's like, we can't get him hit one more time. And then they show like DeAndre on the side in the locker room, just like, I'm like in total pain. Oh, good times that was. All right, let's step aside. Or do you want to add something?
No, I got that. If we want to go into, we're going to go into Leonard.
Yeah, should we go to Leonard?
Yeah. So just setting it up. I talked to him on Monday, and for people that don't remember, they made the Elite Eight last year. Mm-hmm. We're really a possession or two away from the Final Four, which legitimately means they were a possession or two away from being in the national championship game because they were going to beat Loyola of Chicago. Mm-hmm. And just, kind of I ask them about – I don't ask them about specific players. You remember all the players. Kofer's back, Savoy, MJ Walker,
what if they
Trent
don't
Forrest,
remember? Yeah,
Terrence Mann, Kumaji. They're almost all of them are back. I don't know if I said Kofer, but Kofer again. Cabin-Gelly, and then you got Polite. And then the Gray kid, they both redshirted last year. They're coming in.
Gray.
So they're the whole most of the nucleus is back. So I just asked them about the expectations. Asked them about the schedule because they have they start with Florida, but there's also a good chance they'll play Villanova in one of those tournaments. They play Purdue. I mean, you're talking about a really tough non-conference schedule. So I asked him, like, knowing what kind of team he was having back, did that change his mindset as far as scheduling? Maybe a little tougher than you would when you have this is probably the most experienced team he's ever had at Florida State. So does that change it as opposed to when you have a young team and all that? And just, their mindset, because I think what's really been cool about Florida State basketball, and look, I know it's September. We're not going to talk a lot about Florida State basketball. But what's been cool about them the last 2 years, and this is the truth, they're a really selfless team. They don't, and it goes back to John Isaac, the most talented kid they probably ever had in this program, with the exception of Dave Cowens.
Physically gifted.
That's talented. Just the basketball skills. He was incredibly skilled and talented. But he didn't care if he scored 2 points or 30. He just didn't. And I think that still mindset is still there where these guys, it has to be, because none of them play more than 22 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So they all have to be selfless, and they all really bought in last year. And you wonder if and I asked him, I can't remember if it's in this interview or not. So stay tuned, folks.
Yeah.
But how do you foster that? How do you make sure that that's still there after that success, and making sure some guy doesn't want his? Like, I want to get my 18 points a game and play 35 minutes and all that. And he just said that they're really selfless from what he's seen in the offseason, and he wants to see how tough they are. Because there's some comparisons a little bit, I thought anyway, from remember the team that went to the Sweet 16?
Vaguely.
That lost to VCU in overtime. Yeah. They weren't really good that year, but they beat Notre Dame in Chicago. That was the number 2 seed, upset them. Really great win. And that next year, most of that nucleus came back, and they ended up winning the ACC. After some struggles early, they ended up winning the ACC. So I asked them if there are any similarities between this team that, last year they barely got into they were 9 seed or 8 seed, whatever they were. They weren't. No. They were still, many people kind of considered them on the bubble. And then they ended up going to the Elite Eight. So how much do they build that? How much do they carry that over into this year? So anyway, that's the setup. Off the record, I can tell you he is still very, very upset about that Michigan loss. Yeah. Which you can imagine. I mean, they were right. It was right there. They were very close to being there, but didn't happen. Couldn't make some threes when it mattered, and Michigan was good. So anyway, here's you set it up, Aslan.
Roll it.
Do you like opening up the way you open up this season?
To be honest with you, I think it's good that we're opening up with some challenging games early in the year. I think it has a tendency to motivate your players a little bit more and to be focused, and it gives you a sense of urgency in everything that you're doing, knowing that you are jumping right out of the frying pan right into the fire.
Right. Talk about, when are basketball schedules made? Like, they're not football schedules, which get made 5 or 6 years in advance. You put together this schedule.
Well, we have people like we have University of Florida,
right?
Consistent non-conference game on our schedule.
You have the Big Ten ACC challenge.
The Big Ten ACC challenge is always, but we don't have the other set rivals that some people have, and so that's why we play in some tournaments, like the one we're playing in, where we play UAB, and then with potential of the second game could be LSU, who's the top 25 ranked team, and then if you win that game, you have a chance to play against Villanova, a team just won the national title, on the road in a non-conference neutral court game in Sunrise against a very good St. Louis team that some people pick to be one of the top couple teams in their conference. So those types of opportunities are good for our team because it gives us a chance early on, to mentally stay sharp and focused, but also with the way they're evaluating teams at the end of the season that is going to the NCAA tournament, it's good to have those quality games that you have played on your schedule. And you can't forget about Purdue.
Right.
Obviously, a team that's been extremely successful in the Big Ten and in the NCAA tournament.
Do you change your scheduling philosophy depending on who you have coming back? I mean, we all know what you have coming back this year. You have a very experienced team that's experienced a lot of success. Many people have them ranked in the top 20 in the country, coming off an Elite Eight, really close to a Final Four. Do you change when you're making the schedules in May and June? Okay, we need to challenge them a little more early.
Well, I would say that comes into factor. Those factors do come into play, and we try to put to schedule such that it's challenging enough for our guys, but also when you have an inexperienced team, sometimes it's wise to try to get a few games under your belt. But right now, with the team that we have, we like the schedule that we have. It's extremely challenging. I think it's one that is going to excite our players as well as our fans.
As a coach, how do you get them what's the fine line between wanting them to remember last season and all the success and build on that confidence, but also flush it isn't the right word, but realize this is a new season and a new team? What's the fine line between the carryover from the end of last season and going into this season? Because you have so many of the same players.
What I'm trying to encourage them is to remember the pain that you felt for coming up short and not getting to the Final Four. Number two, I think there were times last year, and I'm not trying to make any excuses. We did have some unfortunate injuries, I thought, to Chris and PJ and Terrence.
And Trent, right? At the beginning of the year.
Trent.
Yeah.
Not Terrence. Trent, Kamaji,
right,
and PJ, that kind of kept us from getting into the right groove early on in the season. But I think that gave some players a lot more playing time, and it paid off for us toward the end. And we got into a stride. We started improving our defense. We got comfortable in our offensive system, and I thought that gave us a certain level of confidence. But doing throughout the year, I'm still looking back at some of those games that I didn't think we played very well. Some games that I think that we probably, had we played a little better, we could have won and not been in that position at the end of the season, even though we were playing well, to have people wondering about whether we were a team that deserved to go to the NCAA tournament. And we had some games where I didn't feel that we mentally and emotionally were engaged at the level that's necessary for us to be successful. We are constantly reminding our players that if you're going to be an elite team, you can't have those types of moments where you don't go out and represent who you are in the right fashion. I thought we had several of those last year. So the things that I'm carrying over from last year is the pain that we felt in the loss of the game against Michigan, but I also consistently remind them of the shortcomings we had with some of those games where I didn't feel that we played up to par. Thirdly, I think we shot 35% from three. I think that we can do a better job in that. I think we need to get up to 38, 39%.
Right.
We shot 69% from the free throw line. I think that when you look at, we shot very average at best from the 3-point line. We shot what I consider poor from the free throw line, and we maybe were 40 minutes or so from getting to the Final Four.
Right.
So if we can correct those things that were some that contribute to our shortcomings and be a better defensive and rebounding team going into the year, I think we can make up for some of those shortcomings that we had last year.
Are there any similarities between when y'all made the Sweet 16 run and came really close to beating VCU and getting to the Elite Eight? You had a lot of guys return that next year, and it's like, I know there were some struggles at the beginning of that year, but they turned it around and won the ACC. Like they built on that success of the NCAA tournament run. Is there any similarities between what you experienced that year? I know that's different types of players and different scheme even, but just the mindset.
From a coaching standpoint, I try not to live in the past. I try not to draw those types of similarities. I think we're a new team that plays a little bit of different style offensively and defensively.
Right.
And that team that won the league, I thought we played to the strengths of the individuals on the team. Now I think we are playing more to the strengths of our system, and we are not the same kind of team as we were then.
Right.
We were maybe a more inside, power-driven type team. Now I think we're more of a what you call pace and space type of team that read and react to the defensive situations, and as opposed to being a team that was more of a power team that ran a lot more set offensive plays to get the play to the strengths of our team. I think now we are probably a team has a little more multiple offensive and defensive schemes than we did there. So I can't draw too much from them other than that team had some toughness that I really, really like, and I would like to see us come out and play with that same level of maturity and toughness that I thought that team played with.
Did you think that happened at the end of last year? That the toughness came a little bit?
Yes, I did. But I thought we were healthy, and I thought we had a pretty good rotation, and the culture of our team I thought stepped forth during that run. It was a very unselfish type approach to the game where I didn't feel that anyone had anything on their minds other than let's going out and playing against the team, the opponent on the other side. And I didn't think we had anything that kept us back mentally, emotionally, other than focusing on trying to go and represent the Seminoles.
And it seemed, and this is the last question, it seemed like a really selfless team.
Yes.
Because you have to be when you got 10 guys playing real minutes.
Yes.
You can't be the guy that wants to play 35 minutes and get all the shots. Is that something that you think also is just a part of this program now? You come here, you know you got to be selfless because you want to play a lot of guys, and you do, and they're all good.
Well, we've built our philosophy has been win games by committee, and we have not sacrificed individual personal success for the good of the team. I think we've had guys that have realized some pretty good opportunities as far as going to the next level and playing in the NBA, but I think that we've been able to share playing time, share the ball, and play with an unselfish spirit with a tremendous amount of energy.
Right.
And I think that's been the theme that we've tried to sell our kids on, playing unselfish and playing with all your heart and all your soul.
And is that something you can see? I guess practice starts officially next week, but there's been off-season workouts and everything else that goes into team building. Can you see that already, that kind of mindset's still there? Or is that something that takes?
I've been tremendously pleased with the mindset of this team. I think that we are growing in the unselfish spirit. The camaraderie and the culture that seems to be developing here is that we all can share in the success if we just can accept our roles and play to each other. It seems to be the theme that we that really reflects who we are as a basketball program, playing to each other.
All right, well done, Corey. And,
thanks, buddy.
Shout out to Coach Ham for sitting down with Corey and talking. I think I might have been invited, but I wasn't invited. But
it's all right, man.
Next time I
don't know that he likes you, but I got in that office, so that's all that mattered.
Yeah. All right, man. On to football. That's what everybody wants to talk about. It's September after all. We're rolling into Week 5 right now. Noles are 4-0.
Yep.
Man.
Looked dicey there for a bit now, getting behind in Chestnut Hill like that, 17-3.
Man, I was in the car, and it all the things that you guys are like, listen, let go, just let go. This kid's different. He's special. I'm like, chill out. I mean, it's been Bethune. I mean, who's Pitt? And
Nevada. What was that? Yeah,
Nevada. They like
Nevada.
They
sorry,
like that's how they like it over there.
It's Nevada.
So when I'm just driving, and then they fall into the early hole, and it's like this. The whole thing with Jimbo is like, I know you're not going to win a national title every year, compete for it, but just don't lose these games in the ACC to these teams that you're more talented than. And it's just like, here it's happening. It's happening again.
It had all the earmarks of a typical, in my opinion, Jimbo Fisher loss. Yeah. And I think the one difference that we're starting to see now is that this kid at quarterback is just a little bit. He's just a little bit different. I mean,
it's kind of cool.
Obviously the throw he makes to Kenny Shaw at the end of the half is just. I mean, that's
and
probably going to go down as one of the all-time great Jameis Winston plays. So number one, to get the snap off with literally like half a second left.
What a heads-up play.
And then I don't know what the Boston College defense is doing, why they're covering it like it's the middle of the third quarter, but I don't know how that happens, but it did, and he saw it. He got hit as he threw, and he made a great throw. And I just think, I'm telling you, man, I know last year we got our hopes up,
right,
but it didn't look like this. even when they were rolling pretty well against Clemson and people like that. Yeah. This kid is different. And I'm just telling you, I feel like there's a belief in this team that this could be something special. Now, I know they got Taj in a few weeks at Clemson. Yeah. That's going to be hard. They haven't won there in so long.
Man,
I get it.
So long.
And they got Sammy Watkins. I mean, I know that's it's hard to go in there at night and win. But I think and I'll be honest with you, I know I shouldn't look ahead to Clemson because I feel like this is a trap game coming up. And I said it on headlines earlier. I think Maryland could really be an issue here. I don't want to go as far as calling them a problem, but I think Stephon Diggs.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even think it's a trap game, really. I mean, I know Clemson's coming up, but I think this is the best team they're going to play up to this point. This is a really good Maryland team.
It's a top 25 team, folks. Yeah. This is top 25. So you don't think you're just going to roll this team like 63-0. That doesn't happen anymore. Not in the ACC. I think this Florida State team is good. They're not putting 60 up on a top 25 team. And, the defense has to get better.
That's exactly what I was going to try to talk about because,
you're not going to just be able to outscore teams.
Right.
Well,
you just think that maybe – I don't know if that wasn't obviously a huge backbreaker, but that was such a huge play for Florida State to get before the half that you thought, all right, maybe if this team is if this kid is special and Jimbo, all the things he said during the offseason about this team, they would come in the second half and just blow the doors off of them. Yeah. But they're still looking a little soft and in little spots on defense, and that's just the kind of stuff
I think they gave up a big kick return right immediately to start the half. I think they definitely gave up that wheel route for a touchdown where Dan Hicks didn't cover his guy, and I'm almost to the point where maybe you sit Hicks and you do something. I've heard that maybe they'll move Christian Jones to defensive end. You're not into that. No. They might do that and get Terrence Smith on the field. Maybe get a little more speed back there.
I don't know. All this youth, I don't know, man. Just trust the guys that are out there right now. I'm just going to trust the coaching staff.
Well, yeah, look, Pruitt.
Jimbo, we trust.
I'll be honest though. Pruitt so far hasn't impressed me a great deal. I don't know.
He's a high school. He's like 2-3 years removed from coaching high school.
Yeah, and now he's coaching Florida State. Are you kidding me? He couldn't even get the job at Alabama. He was a GA at Alabama. It took him 2 years before he got on Saban's actual coaching staff. So that seems like a misstep. But it's early. Again, it's early. Right. But I want to see some improvement this week against Maryland, maybe more of a pass rush. And obviously Jameis won't play like this all year, but you want to see how they'll respond if he has a bad game. And I'm predicting he's not going to do well. He'll do all right against Maryland. It's a tough physical defense. He's going to make some mistakes. They're not going to just go up and down the field on these guys. It's not going to happen. So I want to see what he looks like in the fourth quarter of a close game, because until he does that, I'm certainly not going to be convinced he can do it in a championship-type atmosphere.
Yeah, well said. All right, man, that's it for us today, man. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Wake Up War Chant.
The Sod Cemetery, Osceola and Renegade, and, of course, the War Chant. These are great traditions known to all Seminole fans. If you are a card-carrying, garnet, and gold-wearing Nole, don't you deserve a site that is truly dedicated to covering FSU sports? WarChant.com's staff has over 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. WarChant.com is the only FSU outlet with a full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee. Plus, it's the only site with a full-time videographer and a daily podcast, 100% dedicated to FSU sports. Why act like Gators and settle for second best? WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.